Welcome to Live with Cami. This is Cami Wanis, the Freedom Scholar. And if you are listening to this on our podcast, welcome to Homeschool Success with Cami Wanis. I'm so excited because today we're talking about public speaking. Oh my gosh, is everybody afraid? Because that is one of the biggest fears that people have. I've even read that people fear it. Some people, not me. I don't know how I was born with that, but some people fear it more than death. Like it's such a huge fear for people. So we're going to talk with Jackie Bailey today. I'm super excited to have her on here. She is so incredible, you guys. She is in demand all over the place for people to first of all for companies to have her come and speak to them, but also to have people have her work with their teens because she has a passion for helping this next generation really gain the skills to be able to public speak. And those skills are skills that can be useful in every area of their life. You guys, one of the things that I do is I talk with hundreds and hundreds of parents, and I always ask them their goals for their kids, like lifetime goals, end goals when they're done homeschooling. And they often say, I want my kids to be confident. I want them to really have a sense of who they are, to be able to think independently, to be able to communicate and be able to stand up for themselves. Well, you guys, you are going to find out today how public speaking does all of those things because Jackie's going to tell us all about that. She is an expert at helping kids and people refine their public speaking skills and really overcome that fear. It is so amazing. She has such a great presence. I have really enjoyed every time I hear her, and we're part of a business group together, and I am so excited because every time she's on I just feel this like sense of calm about her. It's so amazing. She really does present in a way that makes you feel like you're with her and that she's really talking about something that's passionate for her. And she also has a passionate for helping others in all areas of the world, which is so amazing because she does a lot of philanthropic work as well. And I'm so excited to share her with you today. So, Jackie, thank you so much for coming and for sharing with us today. I'm super excited to really have you impart a lot of your energy and your amazing expertise into this community here. So, can you please just tell us about how you got started? Why public speaking? Like, what is the whole deal with public speaking and your passion about helping kids and people in general learn these skills?
Well, Cami, thank you so much. It is delightful to be here with you, and I admire what you are doing in the world and the brilliance that you're helping people to discover in themselves. So thank you for that. Wow, public speaking. It is either fear number one or number two. And the joke is that most people would rather be the person in the coffin than the one giving the eulogy. So it has a bad reputation to it. But I think the reason that so many people are afraid of public speaking is because they've had challenging or negative experiences in the past in speaking out loud. Now, for me, I lived in an abusive home as a kid, and I was told not to tell about the abuse that was happening to me. And I was silenced in the sense that I could not speak out or wouldn't know how to speak out or didn't have anybody to speak out to about what was happening to me. And in many, many ways, it changed the way I thought about myself. I didn't have confidence, and I was always afraid that I might say something that I shouldn't. So that kept me from initiating conversations. And I just grew up feeling ill at ease in social situations. And I see today that a lot of our young people are feeling the same way. It may not always be for the same reason that I felt that trepidation, but our kids are experiencing trauma in lots of different ways. So public speaking, I guess if you boil it down to its lowest common definition, is that it is when someone feels capable and confident to say what they need to say or say what they want to say. And so when our kids are quiet or they're shy, they don't want to speak up, especially when it comes to protecting themselves or standing on their values, there's probably something that has taught them that it's not safe to speak up or to speak out. Part of what I do then is I help to give kids venues, forums, stages, opportunities where they can build that confidence line upon line, and then give them opportunity to get bigger and bigger in their confidence and bigger in their speaking skills, so that they actually get on real international stages in front of audiences, speaking their unique message to the world. And I mean, I do the same thing with adults, but it brings me so much joy to see kids lighting up a stage and talking about something they truly want to talk about rather than just a report.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the report thing because I was a high school English teacher, right? So I often public speaking is part of our English standards as far as what we cover and we're supposed to cover in school, and it's often very terrifying, especially with the social environment of school, for kids to come up and do a presentation or reports or something like that. And I found it really interesting to be able to share with kids different ways that weren't so intimidating, and different almost strategies that were took the pressure off just a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was really amazing to see kids open up a little bit more. It was really incredible, and to like you said, really share about themselves in ways that they probably wouldn't have before, especially in front of other people. And the school environment's rough, man. I mean, sometimes you're sharing in front of people that you don't even like, right? So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
really difficult. So I love that you mentioned that. And so, we already talked about some of the benefits, and I love that you focus on the benefits as far as getting them to really share who they are and their thoughts, right, is the first step. And so what are some of the other steps and the benefit skills that we have that we can develop through public speaking?
Mm. Well, when we gain confidence to speak up, which is really important, that's only half of communication. The other half is learning how to actively listen when other people are speaking. Listening not just to hear what they're saying, but actually to understand what they're saying. Communication at its best is in a conversation where it's a give and take, and where both people are feeling heard, both are feeling respected, and both are feeling that they are the important focus for the other one at that moment. If you think back at all of the relationships that can go south, it's typically because some form of communication went south, right? Someone doesn't feel like they're understood, someone doesn't feel heard. And I firmly believe that during the recent pandemic, when so many young people were taking their lives, I mean, the numbers soared, sadly. I think it's because they didn't feel like they could voice what they were experiencing. They didn't feel like anybody was going to be able to understand them or listen to them. And so it just seemed easier to just crawl under a rock and be quiet. And that's a sad thing, because communication is a part of who we are. One of the first things we learn is how to talk and how to walk. So we should be able to, throughout life, do that well and to feel confident in it. So speaking is one part of it. Listening is a very important other part of that. And I would say a third part to communication is inspiring other people, that you give a gift when you do speak, that you realize it's not really about me, that the speaking I'm doing right now is to give a gift to the listener, to let them know I love them, or to let them know I'm listening to them, or to let them know I've been there and I'm relating an experience I've had that they might just benefit from knowing. And maybe they felt similar to me, and now I'm giving them a way that they can solve an issue or overcome a challenge, something like that. So those are the three parts I see to communication: is the speaking, it's the listening, and it's also the giving the gift of a message.
I love that. And so with your students, do you teach them like the skills of listening? How do you like communicate that to them?
We have these 5 codes of conversation that I teach the kids. And I actually have a little military ditty that we teach them to help them remember it. So it's say their name, Eyes the aim. Not every question is the same. Listening for words is key. Remembering it's not about me. So we practice each part of these 5 codes. Listening for keywords is one of them. And what that means is that when someone is responding to a question they've asked, then they're listening for nouns or they're listening for words that describe emotion. For instance, you might say, "What did you do for lunch today?" That's a question you might ask. And the answer could be, "I had lunch with my best friend, Joe." To respond to that, you might key in on Joe, friend, or even best. And you might ask 3 different types of questions. Oh, what did you and Joe have for lunch? Or why is Joe your best friend? Or what do you see in best friends? What do you look for when you're determining who's a best friend? I mean, there's lots of different ways you could respond to that to get more and more information from the person you're talking to by keying in on a few of those types of words. So when the kids learn these basic skills, they come back so excited. "Oh, Miss Jackie, you won't believe this. I actually made 3 new friends this week just because I started a conversation, I listened to them, and I responded, and we kept going back and forth, and each one of us contributing to the conversation. It was so cool." And so they get really excited about it when they know how to do it. It's really not something that we actually teach kids. It's how to converse, right?
Seriously, you guys, are you listening to this? Seriously, if you're multitasking, come back to us because this is so huge. I was literally just talking the other day with a homeschool parent that was saying, we were just talking about our kids don't know how to have conversations
Mhm.
because they're so used to having a phone, having something where they're texting. They can talk for a very long time for it to us, but it's having a back and forth conversation that kids are missing these days because they're used to doing this texting thing and everything. But having that whole body, I call it a whole body listening, where your whole body, you're not thinking about what you're going to say next, you're actually listening to that. I love your little ditty, that's so cute. And it's so important, you guys. Seriously, how many kids are so isolated today that feel like they can't make friends, especially in the homeschooling world? I mean, when we do get together in groups, we are absolutely phenomenal. However, it can feel very isolating at first when we're not used to getting in a new friends group or something like that. And it's something, especially if we're coming from public and we're not used to having to do that. I love that. That's such a huge skill, you guys. Absolutely incredible. And so thinking about listening and then communicating in response to somebody, you have to have something to say, right? So you have to have something to say. You have to be able, and one of the things that I think about when I think about public speaking is thinking.
Mm.
So the ability to think. So can you share with us just a little bit about the benefits of public speaking and how it relates to developing thinking skills?
Absolutely. And because when you're using your mouth, right? You're sharing information, then you use your ears and you're hearing or learning information, and now you have to interpret that information and ask more questions to confirm what you're thinking. So, just having a simple conversation with someone really expands our ability to learn. I mean, I personally have never learned anything while speaking, but I learn a lot when I listen. But then when I ask a question back, that helps me to learn an even deeper level. And besides that, it helps the person I'm talking to realize, hey, she heard what I said. She actually is listening. She sincerely wants to know. I think it is human nature, it is innate in all of us that we want to be acknowledged and we want to be valued, and that involves being heard. And it's a simple thing we can do for each other is just, even if we have a moment to listen and take in and then try as best we can to understand what they're conveying to us. My early workshops were called How to Communicate with More Than Thumbs. Because our kids get into this, texting mode. And texts and words, written words, I should say, don't really convey emotion. And we can get really messed up in our communication when we're trying to say one thing in a letter or an email or a text when it might be interpreted completely oppositely from the person on the other side. So it is part of learning critical thinking skills and learning empathy, which is all part of that too, to really learn how to have a conversation with somebody wanting to sincerely know more about them. And like the fifth code is, it's not about you. It really isn't about you. We should be willing to focus on the other person and give them that spotlight for the moment that we're with them. That's going to build rapport and trust more than anything else that we might do.
So true. So true. I absolutely love that. And, in thinking about what you were saying there, as far as listening, it's in that whole body listening, when you're having empathy with someone, you're actually using your body language, right? So, do you guys get that what she's talking about is not just getting on a stage? We often think of public speaking as just being on a stage with a microphone and saying some kind of speech, right? Or standing up in front of people and saying some kind of speech. But the skills of public speaking are so beyond. They're just everyday life skills. And I love that. I love that. And so you work with kids definitely on a stage, but you first attach the everyday stuff to them, right? We first need to do the foundations of that. And then we go, how do we bring that to a higher audience and be more courageous? So how do you help kids be more courageous? I mean, that's a little scary. I know that I'm sure you have kids and adults. I know you have adults that come to you that are like,
Yes.
I wish I could speak. I wish I could do a video. I wish I could do this, but I don't really. I'm so scared. So how do you help kids and parents too, and people? How do you help them overcome that fear?
Well, you know what? It's only a fear because it's unknown. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Even the adults that come to me to be better speakers often have no idea what their message is. And as we work through a little bit of, well, what are some of the experiences you've had? What are some of the lessons you've learned? And by working through some of those exercises, they realize, oh, yeah, well, that's how I learned that. Could that be a message? Could that inspire somebody else if I told that story? And yeah, most cases, yeah, that is exactly what needs to happen. So most of that fear is based on not knowing that we actually have something really powerful to say. And it is such a remarkable thing to witness, Cami, that when even a young person, especially a young person, has that aha moment when they go, you mean because I lost my best friend, I could talk about that and it would be meaningful to somebody else? Yeah. They realize, my goodness, I do have something I could say. Years ago, when my grandson, Sam, who's 15 now, but when he was 9 years old, I asked him once, I said, Sam, if the whole world came into your living room and said, Sam, tell us the most important thing you know, what would you tell them? And he didn't have to think very long. And he said, well, first of all, Grandma, I'd tell them to get out of my living room. and then secondly, I would tell them they need to get off the video games and start spending more time with their family. At 9 years old, he had tremendous wisdom that kids his age and some of us adults need to hear. And that is what is the great eraser of fear, is when someone realizes I actually have something really important and valuable to say. And when you know that, you are unstoppable. And I see that all the time.
I love that. I love that. And it's so true. If you get your kids to really be honest and open up, I mean, my son has no trouble because we do ask him questions a lot and we have a lot of conversations. He will just come say, you know what, this is, I believe this, and this is, I can't believe, and this story happened. And people just need to know how to do da, 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 da. People need to know that they don't, and it's just so amazing when kids are able to have that space where they can say what they believe and say what their thoughts are, that they can definitely teach a lot because they know they're picking up stuff, whether we know it or not.
Well, the fun part about getting them on stages is now they know people are hearing them. So now they're sharing this message. People are actually hearing them. In fact, when my young students are on a, say, an international summit, and they can see the people in the audience or in person speaking, and they see the people in the audience and they go, wow, these people came here to hear me. Can you even imagine how much self-worth that builds in a young person, to realize that there are adults, they're sharing stages with fantastic speaking adults. They're on the same peer level now as those adults. Plus there's audiences that are out there that paid to hear them speak. It's just a magical process to watch young people go through that scenario in their head and realize, man, I really do have something important to contribute to this planet.
Absolutely. And you do, Jackie, Jackie gets kids on all kinds of stages and really mentors them through that process. And you guys know, if you looked in the our group, our Facebook group, or if you were following me online, you know that my son just was on a podcast a couple weeks ago, and he was asked to be on a podcast by he follows it, and it's a live video podcast. And so he was asked to be on it and asked to speak, and it was really incredible. He had moments notice, like within overnight, all he had was to prepare, and that was very exciting because he was like, yeah, I'll totally do that. And it was really amazing to see him. I'm a mom over here going like, oh, and make sure oh, I got to do this, and make sure what are we going to talk about? What question are you going to ask the expert? And and in my mind, I'm doing that, but I'm like, okay, well, what do you think? What did you research? And then at the last moment, I was going to remind him to thank the guest expert that was on the podcast. And I couldn't because it was too late. And so I'm over there recording, and he stands there and he goes, well, thank you, Professor Allen. Thank you for joining us today. And I really appreciate you and all your expertise. And I really do have a question. And I was blown away. I'm like, this is crazy. I didn't realize he's 15. And he's constantly picking these
Yes.
little moments up and these little skills and strategies. And it was so phenomenal. He felt so proud. And he's like, I was really trying to carefully word what I was saying. And I was like, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
And the speaker really, really edified him. It was really great. So,
Sure.
it's such a tremendous builder. And as Denise Thomas said in our Facebook group earlier this week, that it is a tremendous opportunity for kids to put on their college applications, their resumes, and things like that. So, Jackie, can you tell us a little bit more about how that helps kids in their future success?
Yeah. Well, you think about how colleges have changed in the last 10 years. They used to really put all of their weight on academic success. What you had to have perfect grades, perfect attendance. Now there's still this pressure on having advanced placement courses in high school. I have many mentees that are stressed out about those things, but more and more the colleges are wanting activists on their campus. They want young people who are not afraid to speak up about what they believe in. Now, we may not always agree with all the things that they're protesting and talking about on college campuses, but nevertheless, those are the types of individuals they're looking for these days. So yes, there's still a weight on merit, but it's not as heavy as it used to be. Now they're looking for, what have you done to get your voice out into the world? What have you participated in as far as clubs and other programs? What have you done to be in teams or lead teams? So they're looking for those kinds of, we used to call them soft skills, but they're really important skills. So with that in mind, they're asking now for applicants to provide a personal essay, and many times they're asking for a video of you speaking and talking about yourself as part of the application. This scares some young people to death because they have, first of all, like I said before, they have no idea what they could say. They have no idea what they've learned in life that has any importance on anybody else, or especially a college board. Why would they care? And Yet that's what they're looking at. They want to see you on film. They want to hear your voice. They want to see what kind of personality you have, how engaging you are. This is what they're looking for today. If you on a college application, or if your child on a college application can say, I have spoken on 3 international summits, I have given a TEDx talk, I have hosted my own podcast, I have written a best-selling book, I have my own YouTube channel, I have started a nonprofit, I have hosted a business fair, and these are all things that my mentees have done. I'm not just throwing these out. All of those things my mentees have done. When colleges see those types of things on application, that sets you apart. Because if they're looking at 2 different applicants, they're trying to decide, okay, which one of these kids that have seemed pretty equal as far as academic merit, what puts that over the top? Well, it's typically the engagement they've had in clubs and leaderships and other types of situations where they have voiced their message, or put it out there, done something a little bit over and above. So that has become the new important part of college life. Being able
Yeah,
to,
and it not only shows that they're, putting themselves out there and that they have something to say, that they're being active in spreading their message, whatever it is, but it also validates for us homeschoolers. It helps you validate your high school transcript.
Mhm.
So it helps you to say, hey, I know this kid has all A's or whatever the case, on his transcript, and they expect that. It's okay to have that. However, you need to back it up with some things. So they're not just saying, oh, this kid was homeschooled, so he gets all A's. And that's just, we don't know what he knows.
Right.
And so that's a great way to help put on your resume things that validate, hey, somebody actually wanted to listen to this kid. You know, that's, I that's something that's really important. And even for jobs too, same thing. That kind of stuff really helps. And you can win money doing contests and scholarships like that. It's pretty incredible. So how do we find these opportunities, Jackie? Like, what do we do for our kids? I know I try to get my child out in public speaking as much as humanly possible. We do it in scouts. He does it in his martial arts. He does it in any workshops that I do. I have him on my podcast, things like that. And
Yeah.
so what kind of things can we do if we're not involved? We don't have a business. What other kinds of things can we look for to have our kids practice their public speaking skills?
Well, when your child needs help in math, you call up a tutor and you say, hey, my child could use a little extra help here. If they are trying to get in an internship somewhere, sometimes you can call someone to say, can you give him a few pointers, or help him with his resume, or help her with this or that? It's no different when it comes to getting their voice out there in the world. Is you need someone like a mentor or a coach that can guide them in what is their message, and then what audience needs to hear that message, and now how do we get in front of that audience? And that's the best way to really form that confidence and courage in your child, is to start with, what is it that I want to talk about? Okay, who needs to hear this message? And then how could I share that? What are my opportunities? And there are so many opportunities. Like I say, many of my mentees, they just want to be influencers on YouTube, or they want to have a podcast. They don't necessarily want to be giving keynote speeches, but they adore a sport, or they adore Nobel Prize winners, or some particular part of science. And they would love more than anything to talk to people related to that. But how are you going to do that? Well, most people want to be on podcasts. That's why I'm here with you today. I love to be on podcasts. And so if someone were invited to be a guest on a podcast, and the host just happened to be someone age 10, or someone age 13, or someone age 17, don't you think they're going to go, yeah, let's do that? That would be cool, because it's good for their image as well. And it just gives them more promotion. But how wonderful it is for that young person to be able to have a conversation, now that they know how to have conversations, to have a really important conversation that can be shared with other people. So they're putting out content, they're educating, they're inspiring, It's amazing what can be done when you just open your mouth and speak.
100% agree about the mentoring. You guys know I'm all about mentorship. I've had mentors in every area of my life, literally every area, for almost my entire life. And it is so important. I fully intend to have Kenyon working with you in the very near future, because it's something that we definitely need to produce in our kids. That it's something that if we don't have experience doing that, if we're not, experts in that area, we matching up where they can speak and the opportunities, and then what their message is to the appropriate audience, that's
Yep.
difficult. I mean, I'm a business owner and I have difficulties with that as well. I need mentorship in that area. And a mutual friend of ours, Donovan Dreyer, he was also on our lives in the past. Early on in our podcast, he was on our lives a couple times, and his daughter, he actually mentored his daughter through creating TikTok videos
Yes.
that were about how to help kids study for AP exams. And she has now started a business based on those videos now that she's out of high school. You guys, it's incredible what you can do. It's so amazing. And
Yes.
so thank you, Jackie, so much for joining us today. Can you share with us how we can get in touch with you, how we can follow you? And I know you have an amazing resource that you have offered to us as well. So please share with us about how we can get that and get in touch with you.
Yes, Cami, thank you so much. I do have a free gift for everyone. It's called How to Save Your Silenced Child. It's a little bit of my story and why I'm doing today what I'm doing, and also a helpful tip. Well, lots of tips about how you can get into the world where your child is and bring them out to talk to you, to be better communicator with them, and help them to open up to you about things that they're challenged with or trying to overcome. And so that's an important conversation to have, and that workbook will help you to do that. To get in touch with me, it's easy to go to speakfeedlead.org. We are the Speak, Feed, Lead project because we help kids speak with power, feed others in word and deed, and lead with positive influence. So speakfeedlead.org. And I want to say right now, in less than a month, we are taking a team to Tanzania, Africa. And for 2 weeks, we're going to be empowering the voices of kids there in their regular school days. And we could use some financial help to make sure that our mission is successful. So when you go to speakfeedlead.org, the first thing that pops up is going to be information about our Tanzania mission, our humanitarian trip. We'd really love it if you could help with a small donation to get us to the kids and help to get supplies to the kids as we go. And also there'd be lots of courses there you can look at for your own kids to help them to be more empowered in their own speaking. And there's courses for adults as well. So check us out, speakfeedlead.org.
Absolutely, you guys, that's so great. You can get the link to her free workbook on it's in the show notes. It's also in the YouTube description, and she's going to also put it in the comments under the Facebook group live here. So thank you so much, Jackie, for joining us today. What a gift you are to the next generation, and I know for sure you are to the business owners and leaders that are currently working with you. So I am so excited about this, you guys. Remember that these are baby steps that give us success and give our kids the skills that they need to communicate, not just on stage, but also in life, in their future success. So I am so excited. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jackie. And we will see you again next week with some more awesome stuff. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.